From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, the awards are handed out at this year's Top Producer Summit. Meet this year's winner.
We need this to be successful for everybody, and I think that was the key.
Plus, meet the winners of this year's Trailblazer Award, who press for change. And also from this year's Top Producer Summit.
And it's a big day in the cattle industry. USDA will release its cattle inventory report. We'll preview it ahead of the newscast.
Could coronavirus be one of those factors that drives the markets in 2020? We'll cover that from the Top Producer Summit in Chicago, Illinois.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Health officials are reporting the first U.S. case of person-to-person spread of the new coronavirus from China. The latest patient is married to a Chicago woman who got sick after she returned from a trip to China. The stock and commodity markets dropping as fears continue to grow about the deadly virus that shows no signs of slowing down. President Trump taking to Twitter to talk about the deadly virus after taking part in a briefing about it. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the White House are tapping $105 million for initial efforts while deploying employees around the country to prevent the spread here. The U.S. evacuating 210 people from Wuhan. In the Wuhan area, city streets are nearly empty. Video shot in a store showing a fully stocked market nearly deserted.
The continued increase in cases and the evidence of human-to-human transmission outside China are, of course, both deeply concerning, although the numbers outside China are still relatively small. They hold the potential for a much larger outbreak.
But what I look at is mortality rates, and those mortality rates are dropping. We're probably going to end up below 2% by the end of it. So I think at the end of the day, once China gets, how should I say it, their arms around the incidence of it all, we'll all look at mortality and say, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, this will pass, much like SARS did. Chinese grocery stores are just being depleted at a very rapid rate. Think about a disease spreading, wearing masks. What you're going to do is protect the family by buying lots of food. So those pantries are getting filled, and the Chinese government now has this problem of getting enough foodstuffs and supplies to restock the groceries.
China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs is calling on feed makers and slaughterhouses to resume production to assure food supplies, with many businesses closed for the Lunar New Year holiday that the government extended until Sunday. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan joining us from Top Producer Summit in Chicago. Tyne, the markets have been rattled by the spread of the virus.
Yeah, Clinton, here at Top Producer Summit this week, we've been talking about what are some potential black swans in 2020, and it seems like coronavirus may be one of those. Coronavirus hitting the major markets hard, including in the stock market. But could agriculture be next?
Well, it's very difficult to say at this stage.
Rabobank's Christian Lawrence says at this stage, the only comparison they have is SARS virus dating back to 2003.
Now then, we did see a meaningful impact on global growth, but then China was only around about 4% of global GDP. China's now 16% of global GDP. So if the coronavirus gets a lot worse, and we start to see it really impact trade, really impact travel, then this could have a meaningful impact globally. And quite frankly, the moves we've seen so far will just be the start.
Lawrence says if the virus is contained, the economic story could quickly rebound.
And if this is contained and we see it start to disappear, then we could just see a recorrection of the moves that we've seen recently. So it really just depends on what happens with this virus going forward, and unfortunately I just don't know.
While Lawrence fears the spread of the disease could take its toll on ag exports, particularly in China, USDA is also analyzing how the virus could impact China's promise to buy $40 billion of ag goods this year. USDA's Undersecretary Greg Ibaugh telling me that he's confident Chinese consumers will continue to eat.
People, even if they're staying home and they're not out and about, they need to eat. And so for agriculture, who wants to ship food to China, I'm still very optimistic that China is going to have need for food, they're going to have demand for food, and that they should be able to fall within that $40 to $50 billion per year expectation that the president has of them.
But speaking of China, USDA's APHIS has a trip scheduled to China next week that may be canceled because of coronavirus. Now, Ibaugh told me they could still meet. It just will not be face-to-face. Reporting from the Top Producer Summit here in Chicago, Illinois, I'm Tyne Morgan for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Tyne. The trial continues in Missouri over weed killer dicamba. Bader Farms, the largest peach grower in the state, Claims dicamba drift caused damage to his orchard, but Bayer and BASF are denying the accusation. Bayer saying the peach orchard damage was caused by a soil fungus. The trial is under a gag order from the court. It could last up to 3 weeks. Ohio continues to look for ways to battle the annual algae bloom in Lake Erie. A new plan looks to incentivize farmers for help. Beginning in February, Ohio will begin offering financial incentives to farmers who adopt certain agricultural practices they hope will reduce nutrient loss from farms. The governor says they're hoping the $172 million program will encourage farmers to plant cover crops and vegetation along streams and make sure manure is incorporated into the ground. Those are practices many farmers say they're already doing. Ohio's voluntary approach is being watched closely by other states around the U.S. that are struggling with their own algae outbreaks in lakes and rivers. The wet weather pattern continuing across the Pacific Northwest, and there's more wet weather for the Gulf Coast too. Here's meteorologist Mike Hoffman with more. Mike.
Thanks, Clinton. Yeah, that's right. It is going to be fairly wet over the next several days across the southeast and the Pacific Northwest. This is our precipitation forecast for the next 10 days, and you can see many parts of the southeast getting 2 to 3 inches of moisture out of it. And in the Pacific Northwest, especially northwestern Washington, there may be more than 6 inches of rain there and probably some mountain snow nearby as well. In the meantime, take a look at this beautiful sunrise. Leon Kaufman of Condon, Montana, posted this on Twitter, what he calls the Montana moment every day. And he posted this one a few days ago with all those beautiful colors as the sun rises over the Mission Mountains in northwestern Montana. You can even see a little bit of the fog there in the valley. That is just an awesome picture and a great way to start your day. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
We'll continue to look at markets and the possible impact of the coronavirus long term. And later, 2 women leading a custom farming operation that's helping to spread the positive message about agriculture. And now their work is getting the attention of top producer. Archer Daniels Midland is out with its quarterly earnings that topped estimates. It reported profits of $504 million. Earnings came to $1.42 per share. It posted revenue of $16.33 billion. Now for the year, the company reported profits of $1.38 billion or $2.44 per share. USDA's weekly export sales report showed better than expected corn sales, with exports rising 23% from the previous week. Soybeans suffered their 8th straight day of decline on fears the coronavirus outbreak in China will spread, limiting buying interest. Here's more from Oliver Sloop at the CME.
This is Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures with your grain market update, and we are seeing that risk-off mentality take hold of the agricultural sector yet again today. Grain's feeling the brunt of that. We've got corn failing to really hold those gains that we saw over the past 2 sessions. Now, moving over to the soybean market, we've had a big technical breakdown over the past couple of weeks, which really started on a break below that 940 level. It has accelerated below that $9 handle, but I think we're starting to come into a support pocket here. We still think there's a potential of a longer-term top in the Chicago wheat contract. $5.60 for that March contract, going to be kind of a pivot pocket. And we have seen the live cattle and feeder cattle really roll over pretty hard this week, which is nice to see. We've been leaning on the short side, but we are starting to cover some of those shorts and lift some hedges for producers as well down at these levels. Lean hogs, huge technical breakdown over the last week, and now bringing us into uncharted territory below the contract low. So trying to find meaningful support down here becomes a little bit of a fool's errand. If you don't have a position in this market, I don't think there's any rush to do so.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joining us here with our look at our national weather. And of course, we start with the drought monitor. But you know, this has kind of not been changing a whole lot.
No, it is not. Over the past several months, as a matter of fact. Still some dry areas in Texas. For Corner region, things are improving southeast and northwest. But let's jump back 4 weeks and see what it looked like. Yeah, not a lot of changes, as Clinton pointed out. So let's go through that. 3 weeks ago looked like that. 2 weeks ago. You can see some minor changes here and there. The one thing that I have noticed more than anything is the far northwestern portions of Washington has totally lost drought, and they're going to get more moisture coming up here. So other than that, there haven't been some big changes at all in that drought monitor for a while. Several areas of low pressure in the Mississippi Valley and the western Gulf Coast as we start today. These northern two are weak, and they're not going to produce a whole lot of moisture, and they're going to eventually fall apart. But you can see they move over toward the Appalachians into the southeast as we head through the day. Next system is going to be a very slow mover. This front's just going to barely come southward, and there's multiple pieces of energy coming into the Pacific Northwest as well. That's why we showed you all that moisture over the next 10 days in that area. Then you can see farther to the east, it becomes one area of low pressure. Everything kind of consolidates there off the eastern seaboard. There's 7 a.m. tomorrow as we head into the weekend. Mainly rain, but some snow in the northern and central Appalachians. And as we head through the rest of the day tomorrow, we are looking at just a lot of clouds, maybe scattered flurries across the Great Lakes, that storm system offshore. And you can see still some moisture in the Pacific Northwest, even down into Northern California as we head through the end of the day. Precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, adding in the next 36. We're going to add some in the southeast and mid-Atlantic, obviously, and we're definitely adding some in the far northwest corner of this country, and that's also southwestern Canada, getting a whole bunch of moisture. As far as snowfall, it's mainly higher elevations, although you can see some areas in the northern plains, a few spots in the Great Lakes, northeast, getting some very light snow, but no major problems at all. Temperatures this afternoon, you can see only 30s to the north, 50s to the south, so it's kind of chilly in the southeast, but those numbers to the north are not cold at all for this time of the year. Lows in the 20s, low temperatures in the 50s then by the time you get to the Gulf Coast, and kind of more of the same as we head through the day tomorrow. Here's the jet stream, and there's those multiple areas of low pressure with that trough moving east. Heading into the weekend then, we kind of keep it on the mild side. Some colder air starts to come into the northern plains and Great Lakes as we head through next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Santa Fe, New Mexico, first of all, lots of sunshine, but cold for those folks anyway. High temperature of 41. Wausau, Wisconsin, continued cloudy, rather cold, high of 29. And Waycross, Georgia, cloudy, just a bit of rain around, high around 58.
A leading cereal maker is partnering with several farmers to try to keep more nutrients in the soil. And we head back out to this year's Top Producer Summit to hear from analysts about what we could see from today's Big Cattle Report. Next. Happening later today, USDA will release one of the larger cattle reports of the year. National reporter Betsy Gibbon joins us from Top Producer Summit in Chicago with more on what experts will be looking for in that report today. Betsy.
Clinton, economists and analysts I talk with expect USDA's cattle inventory report to show some of the lowest numbers we've seen in a couple years, potentially since 2016. And one industry expert I talked with believes that the cattle inventory report will be down about 1.6%, and it may be all due to weather.
I don't think we'd fully captured the impact of the severe weather up in the Dakotas and the northern plains last winter. And the floods. I mean, driving down, I've told many people, you drive down from Sioux City down to Kansas City. I did it on July 15th, and it'll shock you.
Nalifka believes USDA also overstated the 2018 and 2019 calf crop. Reporting at Top Producer Summit in Chicago, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. A victory for the beef checkoff program in court, at least for now. A Montana magistrate judge granted a summary judgment this week to the government and the 15 qualified state beef councils. They were involved in a lawsuit between RCAF USA and Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue. The decision will now be forwarded to a federal district court for final ruling, and it could be appealed by either side after the judge issues an opinion. Last May, RCAF asked Montana's federal district court to declare the beef checkoff in 15 states unconstitutional. It claimed the state beef councils are private corporations that have been keeping half of all the mandatory beef checkoff assessments collected within their states to fund their private speech. A statement issued by the National Cattlemen's Beef Association called the ruling, quote, an important victory helping ensure cattlemen and cattlewomen will continue to direct how checkoff investments are made at the state level, end quote. And this week's America's Conservation Ag Movement, cereal maker General Mills kicking off a regenerative agriculture initiative. The company is partnering with 24 farmers in Kansas around the 650,000-acre Cheney Reservoir watershed. That watershed supplies water to more than 400,000 people in Wichita. Regenerative agriculture is a system of farming that experts say can enrich soils and help to keep more carbon in the soil while increasing yields. It can also help protect the water supply and water quality. Now, according to General Mills, these changes can help farmers boost profits by keeping more nutrients in the ground. Now, consultants will meet with each of the pilot participants to come up with management plans. The pilot program is scheduled to run for 3 years. Coming up, we announce this year's Top Producer of the Year. Plus, meet this year's winner of the Trailblazer Award, 2 women whose farming operation is now an international force. Next. Congratulations to the Top Producer of the Year, Christian Hebert of Moosomin, Saskatchewan. We introduced you to him and his family yesterday morning on Ag Day. He was presented his award at the 2020 Top Producer Summit in Chicago Wednesday night. On his farm, he grows malt barley, canola, wheat, yellow peas, rye, and hemp, but he's also branched out into several other businesses, including a consulting and investment arm, a farmland real estate company, and an investment holding company, just to name a few. Christian is the first Canadian winner of the award. Every year, a woman in the ag industry is awarded the Trailblazer Award from Top Producer magazine, a woman who advocates for her industry and makes a lasting impression. Well, this year, there are actually 2 women getting the honor. They're business partners who aren't family, but they are friends. The process, the repetition, the business of hauling, stacking, and pressing 55,000 tons per year of straw in Western Oregon, all headed to the Pacific Rim. All owned and managed by 2 women who aren't afraid to keep pressing.
We say that the things I'm good at are different than the things she's good at, and the things I'm not good at all, she's fantastic at.
Shelley Bosshart Davis and Macy Wessels aren't sisters or even family. They're friends, both farm kids who decided to work together.
One day we were sitting on the back deck and we were frustrated, having a beer, just talking about it. And I said, you know, I don't exactly know what this means for us, but I think we're both know what we want, whether or not it's together or separate. Something will fall into our laps.
These 2 didn't wait long. In fact, they made it happen. Macy and Shelley now work with 40 grass seed growers, custom baling more than 20,000 acres, storing the straw and then pressing it for export. The trucking side, hauling anything from grass straw to grass seed to lumber and hemp. Shelley and Macy bought Bosshart Trucking and the custom farming operation from Shelley's parents back in 2018. You may remember Stan Bosshart. He was a finalist for Top Producer of the Year.
It's so important to this operation that we get onto our customers' field. We do a very good job.
Shelley's parents still own Bosco, the marketing arm for all things straw, and Presco, the pressing operation. However, Shelley and Macy manage them.
That was the first thing that we said to the professionals, to the lawyers and the accountants, and said, we need this to be successful for everybody. And I think that was the key.
Everybody had to say everything in the room together. And I think we, for the most part, really held to that.
While the company bales more than 20,000 acres across 400 fields, many don't have addresses, and the drivers use a mapping program to help with problems and stay efficient.
If somebody makes a wrong turn, we know immediately. And really, during harvest, as in any type of harvest, time matters.
They're also implementing wraps on their trucks, a way to teach those on the road about agriculture.
Our program for Oregon Women for Ag is nationally recognized as being a very strong group.
They aren't just showing it on their trucks, they're doing what they can elsewhere, on social media, through blogs and messages.
Hi, I'm Macy Wessels, Lynn County Farm Bureau board member.
Both have written and have been asked to speak to the Oregon legislature. Shelley was even elected as a local representative in late 2018.
There are 22,772 women farmers and ranchers in Oregon.
As Macy and Shelley continue to show, they can do it all. From driving truck to owning a company, shipping products across the world. These two, their girls, and many other women continue to make a difference. One day, one load, and one bale at a time.
We're just completely different people with different things that we're good at, and really respect the hell out of each other for that.
Congratulations to Shelley Bosshart Davis and Macy Wessels, winners of the 2020 Trailblazer Award. Now on Monday, you'll meet the winner of Top Producer's Horizon Award, a young farmer who already knows a lot about hard work. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day on Farm Country.